Hello everyone, my name is Netta Iivari and I'm presenting this paper on behalf of Matin, Mahboob, Kanafi and Marianne Kinnula, in which we are describing children's reflections on the design protagonist role, and we are from University of Oulu from Finland. First, I'm going to offer some motivation why we have carried out this research, and then briefly our theoretical lens and research design involved in this study. I'm going to present some of our empirical findings and then discuss their implications. Digital technology has been thoroughly embedded in our everyday life for long. In participatory design community, it has been acknowledged for a long time that people from babies till the elderly are actively engaging with digital tools as part of their everyday life, in their homes, during their leisure time, not only in the workplaces. It has also been acknowledged, particularly in child-computer interaction research community, that children are a significant group of users of digital tools, and for sure their adult life will be shaped by digitalization seriously in the future. And it's also acknowledged that children should not be positioned only as users of digital technology, but they should have a stronger role. And for several decades, it has been emphasized that children should be engaging as informants, users, as well as design partners in the development of digital technology. And this has been very heavily inspired by the tradition of participatory design. Nowadays, it is discussed that children should be invited as makers and shapers of digital technology. This discussion has led to the notion of design protagonist. It has been argued that children should become such, and we should be educating children to become such. And this discussion is heavily inspired by the Scandinavian political participatory design tradition, and this design protagonist role maintains that children should be the ones driving development of digital technology, but they should be also critically reflecting on digital technology as part of their everyday life as well as in the society. So empirical research has already been carried out relating to this role, and the researchers have identified challenges regarding adoption of this role by children. It's definitely not easy, therefore more research is needed, and it is also clear that there isn't that much research yet, and it's a little bit unclear what are the actual characteristics of design protagonists. What kind of skills and characteristics are required for that from children? And one thing is also that children's perspective on this role is yet missing. What children think about this role. So this is what we have been particularly exploring, what children think about this role and how they adopt it or not. And we have been inspired by Nexus Analysis as our theoretical lens. Nexus Analysis, introduced by Skolon and Skolon, emphasizes that one should be studying social action, and from a situated perspective, one should be always interested in what is happening actually in situ. And one should also acknowledge that whatever is happening in situ, for example, design, it's always influenced by historical bodies, interaction orders, discourses in place. Discourses are being produced and reproduced in the situation, as well as societal discourses are always intertwined with in situ action. People's historical bodies, their backgrounds, experiences, life histories are always intermingled. And interaction orders, relationships between people, they are both formed in the situation, but there are also societal level norms and rules shaping the in situ action. So we utilized this theoretical lens for making sense of our project that we had carried out, My Superhero Project, which we carried out in one school in Oulu in Finland in collaboration with an ICT teacher and 2 classes of 7th graders who are around 13 to 14 years old. So children learned about digital technology design during this project, but they were also addressing an actual and very serious societal problem of bullying at school. And the activities children were involved in. First, we introduced the project and the researchers to the children, and the children filled in a survey in which we were inquiring their background, skills, and characteristics. Then we created this My Superhero booklet that the children filled in. In this booklet, children ideated a superhero who would be able to tackle the problem of bullying at school, and children were describing its characteristics and writing stories how the superhero would do that. And that superhero was also assumed to utilize digital technology for tackling of bullying. So children were also ideating what kind of digital tool the superhero would be using. And in the end, we were also asking whether the children considered that they themselves possessed the characteristics that they saw the superhero to possess. And these were carried out as an individual activity, but later on the children formed groups and they engaged in the design and development of prototypes of the digital tools. Of course, they had to find a shared idea, what kind of prototype to build. And later on, they were presenting the prototypes to other children, teachers, researchers, and they were also reflecting on the activity. So here are some empirical findings from our project. The children ideated various kinds of powerful superheroes in their booklets, and here are some pictures of them children drew in the booklets. It was very interesting to find out the children ideated the following characteristics as most common in their answers for the superheroes. They were seen to be brave and smart, independent and kind, creative, helpful, leading, happy, and fast. We categorized these as personal traits as well as to represent social skills, management and leadership skills, analytical skills, creative skills, and technical skills. The child groups created very impressive prototypes, and some of the groups actually even implemented the prototype ideas. They programmed them, and some of them were developing games like God is Watching or Escape the Bully, and others were devoted, for example, on working on behalf of LGBTQIA community, and they were creating an app to inform about that. And others were creating apps or blogs or digital tokens, robots or cars, different kinds of prototypes. As can be seen, the children identified a variety of learning outcomes, what they had learned during the project. Most notably, they had learned about bullying prevention, according to them. But for example, creativity and different kinds of technical and design-related skills were brought up, as well as social and communication-related ones. We mapped this variety again by categorizing the learning outcomes into developing personal traits or characteristics, or gaining social and communication related skills, management and leadership skills, analytical, creative, or technical skills. We also carried out detailed analysis of children's actual engagement in design activities, and we identified different kinds of roles children adopted. And we claim some of these children clearly adopted the role of design protagonist. They were driving the work, they were leading their group, they were critically reflecting on technology, they were showing leadership skills, strong social skills, they were leading the group. But there were also many children who contributed significantly, but they still didn't possess all the characteristics of a design protagonist. And they were, for example, creating very nice designs during the ideation phase, but that didn't end up being implemented in the group work, or they themselves considered lacking social or management skills, as an example. There were also children who were complaining a lot and who required a lot of help and support during different phases, but they were performing well after receiving that. But there were some children who were clearly not interested in, they might be interested in the beginning, but they stopped contributing later on, or they didn't show any interest overall. We also identified various kinds of historical body and interaction order related issues influencing what was happening in the design activity. This was happening in the context of school, with a familiar class of children, familiar teacher, and obviously the children had shared background, particular kinds of design and technology related skills in the context of school as well as in the context of their leisure time. And this topic of bullying was clearly significant for many children. They had personal interest in creating the prototype, personal interest in helping those victimized. They enjoyed tackling a real world problem, which had also emotional impact. And we also identified the significance of teachers' role in various ways. And for these design protagonist children, we also identified that many of them said that they didn't get these skills, competencies, and traits from school, but they were self-learned people in this respect. That was their opinion. Our study contributes in different ways. First of all, we show that some children actually adopted this design protagonist role in the design process, but we also showed that it wasn't so clear to draw the line. Many children possessed some of the characteristics, but not all of them. And we also identified children's perspective. What are the characteristics of a design protagonist? And we think these are very interesting and valuable. And we were also identifying different kinds of factors that were mediating children's agency in the design process. Our study has very interesting implications. For example, the design protagonist characteristics that we identified, we think that the personal traits that we identified are something we should be discussing as a research community further. But also we should be broadening the characteristics of design protagonist also from the viewpoint of skills. The children pointed out different kinds of social and communication related skills, management and leadership skills, analytical creative skills. So we think that those have been neglected in the literature until now, and those should be acknowledged better. But for the personal traits, I think we as a community should also be considering, and also with adults, with university students, with children in basic education, how can we be educating compassionate design protagonists, friendly, happy, brave design protagonists, independent, wise, and soul-lifting design protagonists? How could we be doing that? It's not only design and technical skills, but we should be considering this much more broadly. Another interesting issue are the various roles children adopted in the design process. Of course, we are mostly interested in supporting the people, including children, adopting the design protagonist role, but we should acknowledge that people adopt also other kinds of roles in the design process in collaboration with us. We should be considering how can we facilitate people becoming design protagonists, driving technology development, critically reflecting on it and its outcomes. And we should acknowledge that some of the people might be self-learned or natural design protagonists, but others need support for that. And we should acknowledge that there potentially are also ideators, interested in, having many skills and capabilities, but they need more support, as well as the complainers. We should be devoting our attention to them and help them to participate as well. And also consider the disinterested in. Could we support them and encourage them to become interested in? These are questions we should be considering in the future.